Right about a week ago, I sat down with a guy who built a $500 million company, and he shared a piece of advice when it came to automation today that kind of stopped me in my tracks. This is your first time here. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm the CEO of Action Coach Benefic Group, the author of The Ownership Advantage, and the founder of Benefic Marketing. My team and I work with business owners to install systems, build businesses that work without them, and integrate AI and technology wherever possible. Which is why when I sat down with this business owner, it blew my mind to think about some of the real data when it comes to automating as much as we possibly can in business today. So it was about a week ago, I sat down with my coach along with a client of mine and a few acquaintances. We're just having a couple drinks and casual conversation around general business topics. We were reflecting back a bit on his large company that he grew up to about 500 million in sales. And he said something in this conversation that just completely blew me away. So we were talking about the concept of automating, right? So we were doing a lot of different automations with phone calls to systems to things of this nature. And he shared with us a massive data point that I wanted to share with you today. He shared with us that in their business, as he was growing it, they were doing both phone sales and had shifted over to e-commerce sales. As they went through this process and tried to digitize a big chunk of their business and a big chunk of their sales process, what ended up happening was their average order volume or the average dollar per sale for the e-commerce sales was roughly $400 to $600. And that $400 to $600 was right in range with just about everybody in their industry that was moving towards that same e-commerce digital sale space. If anything, they were on kind of the upper edge of what their competitors were doing. The flip side, though, is their phone sales, the average order volume or the average dollar per sale was $20,000. In a world where all of their competitors were shifting to the digital sale, the easier leveraged sale, where you don't have to have as many team members and it's easier to scale it up. In a world where that was true, this guy stuck with the phone sales as 80 to 90% of their sales volume and 80-90% of where their focus went. And the reason for that was the difference between a $500 sale on average to a $20,000 sale on average. Because that one thing, they crushed their competition and grew the business immensely. So why did that stop me? Why was that something that just completely seemed interesting in today's day and age? And it really, for me, it came down to understanding how we think about automating our processes. With AI getting as good as it is, with live sales calls getting as good as they are, being able to jump onto a voice AI and it actually sounds pretty dang close to a human being, there's still something about trust when it comes to making bigger sales. So yes, there are a lot of things that we can go out and look for the automated sale, look for the digital sale, the thing that's easier to scale because you can do so much more volume with it. But there is a line. There's a threshold at which people, humans like you and me, care about talking to somebody real because there is a level of trust that happens in that conversation, and the human ear is still really, really good at picking up when we're talking to a computer versus talking to a human. And at some threshold in the sales process, we just need to feel that we can trust the person on the other end of the line. And that trust equates from shifting a $500 sale to a $20,000 sale. I think the lesson in this is, first and foremost, business, especially if it's going to be higher dollar, higher ticket sales type of businesses, it's still going to be human to human. Where humans still want to talk to humans. Humans still want to have the connection because we are connection-based creatures. So I think that's point number one. But point number two is, if we know that to be true, how do we think about building our business around this beautiful new technology of AI? There are elements within the process that make tons of sense to go out and automate and use these tools for. The key is breaking down that sales process, breaking down that any of those processes within your business, and identifying which of these really matter with the human touch. And how do we amplify that by allowing the humans to take all of their time focused on that area, and then we take the AI to figure out how to automate the rest of it, to make the rest of it a bit easier. But rather than transitioning all the way over to, well, I can just build a really, really good sales agent, and it's going to sound very human because they are getting that good these days, and I'm just going to deploy that and do tons of volume and hope for the best. You may get sales. But based on this data, the sales would never be as good as if you had a real sales closer on the other end of the line, having a human-to-human conversation. Sales is still going to be one of those pieces that we can't fully automate away. And so the big piece of this entire story, this entire concept, is to recognize that there is absolutely a place for automating things. There's absolutely a place for leveraging AI. But as we start thinking about the priority order in which we start working through these things, leveraging AI to replace your salespeople is probably not the place that I'd recommend starting. If you want to put focus on sales and get more sales, the first thing that you can do is work on sales training, work on the sales script. How do you navigate through the behavior and the psychology of how a sale unfolds for your business specifically? Because what's good for your business, or how your business goes through that process, is different than it is for mine. Choosing what is priority and knowing what to stack first, what tools to implement where, is probably one of the key decisions that you as a business owner can make, and probably one of the best ways to think about who you bring onto your team over the next couple of years. $500 average order volume, $20,000 average order volume. Know where your threshold is, because perhaps you're leaving your best sales on the table. And if you've stayed with me to the end, YouTube is now recommending this video right here as the next one for you to watch. I encourage you to go watch it. Continue on. And as always, let's go build some amazing businesses together.